Today we're going to talk about aggregation. Aggregation is the idea of taking a bunch of data and squishing it and giving some kind of output result that puts the data together in some way that has meaning for people. Talked about the difference in the past between data and information. This is one way we can turn our raw data into some information that might mean something to somebody. So let's start out. Look at the data we're going to use for now. We're going to select asterisk from sales table, sales order detail. All right, and make sure you have things set on AdventureWorks up here. Let's take a look at what's in the sales order detail table. And we can see down here that we have sales order IDs, detail for each sales order, and how much each line total is for each sales order. So you can see 43,659 right over here. That's 12 different lines on the same sales order, right? So this is, think about if you get an invoice, you'll have all the items listed that you purchased, and it'll say how much each item was and how many, the quantity. So you take the quantity times the unit price, and it gives you a total for that particular item on your receipt. That's what we're looking at here, sales order detail. So let's do, instead of selecting star here, we're going to use an aggregate function that will compress this data in some way. So what we're going to do is look at the line totals. Let's see what our total sales have been for all these entries. We're going to add them all up. We're going to use a function called sum, in which you can already guess what that does because you've all had basic math. Sum means we're adding things up, right? So we're going to sum the line total. So we're going to take the line total, we're going to add them all up, and we're just going to print the sum of those line totals. And we can see here it's a pretty big number, $10 million or almost $11 million there. So sum is an aggregate function. It takes the individual things and it puts them together, in this case by adding them up. Let's use a where clause now. Let's just look at our total. Maybe we want to find the total from a special sale we were running. So let's just look at special offer ID. Special offer ID equals 4, right? So we had a special we ran some kind of sales special. Let's see how much our sales were as a result of the people that took advantage of that offer, which was offer number 4. And now we get $124,000 came from that, of sales came from that particular. So sum is nice. We can limit our rows and we can add things up using the sum function. Let's change that now. Let's, instead of adding them all up, let's see what our average sales were. So instead of sum, let's do average. So I'm going to change this to AVG, which will take all of the line totals, add them all together. It'll divide by how many there are. And it says our average line total was $905.45 if we rounded. And again, we'll do the same thing we did a few minutes ago. Excuse me. We want a where clause. And we're going to look at that special offer ID for special offer number 4. And let's execute that. And we can see our sales, our average line total for those people that used the special offer number 4 was 1,551. So we only look at the rows where special offer ID equals 4, and we can see that we got slightly higher sales out of the people using that special offer. All right, let's look at another function here. We're going to do count. So there's a function called count, which will actually count the number of lines that have a total in them from this. So there's 121,000 lines that have a total in them from our sales order detail table. Let's do, let's put our line back for special ID number 4. How many different sales lines did we have for that? We had 80 sales lines for that. Now let's combine some things. Let's do, we'll call this, do column alias here. We'll do number of items that. We see that there's 80 items. We just renamed the top of the column. Let's add in average for line total. Call that average value. Rename that heading. And let's also do sum of line total. And we'll just call that sum column. All right, let's run this. Okay, so you can see we've used 3 aggregate functions together. We have the count that gives us our number of items. We had 80 items with special offer ID 4. Average value of those items was $1,551, and the total was $124,148. Okay, so we can use these aggregate functions together. All right, I'm going to talk about 2 more functions before we move on to the next. Let's keep, I'm just going to change starter. The functions are min, and max. We'll just do them both together. For special offer ID 4, what was the minimum? The minimum line total was $58.38. The maximum line total was $27,893.62. I'm rounding off there, Hobby. The min and max are also aggregate functions. So we've talked about minimum, maximum, average, sum, and count. Those are functions we use all the time. In the next set of videos, I'm going to talk about how we can do this in group to see multiple categories of things and see their individual totals instead of doing the entire table.